Game over for Donald Trump. Well, yet again, it's game over. He's now only the first U.S. president to be impeached twice, and that too actually within a single tenure. The House of Representatives has formally charged him with inciting an insurrection just a week after this violent mob of protesters invaded the Capitol Hill. But there's more to happen. For now, he has been impeached only by the House. The next major step really is for the Senate to have a trial to determine Trump's guilt. A two-thirds majority, of course, is needed to convict Trump. And if all 100 senators are there in the Senate when the trial happens, at least 17 Republicans will have to cross over to the Democratic side to convict Trump. And what happened in the House today, that doesn't seem like a stretch that it might just happen. I'm joined by HT Foreign Affairs Editor Pramit Chaudhuri and the former ambassador to the United States, Arun Singh, to dissect how this impacts US domestic policy in the near term and American foreign policy in the medium term. Pramit, let me start with you. It's not game over just yet for Trump. He still has to go through the Senate trial, which really cannot begin before January 19th when the Senate returns from recess. But then his last day for leaving office is Jan 20th. Can a former president really be impeached by the Senate?
Well, as you mentioned, this is a slightly unprecedented situation of a president actually being impeached for the second time. As far as I understand, there is no bar from a impeachment process being completed even after the president leaves office, because a lot of the punishment, if you wish, of the impeachment, for example, that a president can therefore no longer run for a second term. He loses his Secret Service security, and he loses his pension and various other perks of office, can still be imposed on him. But as you've mentioned, the two-thirds majority requirement still makes it seemingly unlikely, given Trump's continuing hold on the base of the Republican Party, that impeachment will actually take place.
What impact does this have on the US domestic politics? And, this trial, what is Trump's defense likely to be at this trial? He came on Twitter immediately after the impeachment and, making a video statement that, he didn't actually incite violence.
Yeah, so his line of defense will be very much along the lines of the video that he put out, that he's against violence, he did not incite violence, that people have told him that what he said was appropriate. And you may have seen that even in the debate in the House of Representatives, several Republican congressmen took one sentence of his comments at the rally, sort of out of context, where he had said that you go to the Capitol for a peaceful rally. So while that word and sentence was introduced, the overall tenor of his speech at the rally behind the White House before the crowd marched to the US Capitol was in terms of that you must fight for your rights, you must be strong. If you are weak, you can't take back your country. But for Trump, again, this is not something new. He has been encouraging his followers at the margins of violence right from the beginning. At several of his rallies, he encouraged them to be rough against other protesters. He had refused to criticize right-wing white nationalist protesters earlier when there was violence and some deaths in Charlottesville in a white nationalist rally in 2017. Again, he had refused to criticize them. So that has been in tenure. But more than that, even before the elections were held, Donald Trump had been saying repeatedly that he's going to win, and if he loses, it will only be if the elections are rigged and they are a fraud. And we have to recognize that despite all the criticism that has been generated against Donald Trump, 74 million Americans voted for him.
Absolutely.
And so he has a very loyal following, and one has to keep that in mind. I think there is an anticipation that, first of all, there's going to be a lot of churning within the Republican Party. What President Trump had done was completely dominated the Republican Party, and Republican congressmen, senators were scared of taking him on, even if they didn't agree with him. Any Republican senator or congressman who criticized President Trump after that had to face primary elections, and most of them had to move away from the electoral process. But for the first time now, you are seeing that 10 Republican congressmen voted for Donald Trump's impeachment. Now, that's a very small number, given that the Republicans in the House are more than 200. But as many analysts have pointed out, that 10 is a larger number than ever before for people from president's own party voting for the impeachment of any president. So there is a significant trend. Some prominent Republicans, Liz Cheney, voted for his impeachment. Kevin McCarthy, the leader of Republicans in the House, did not vote for impeachment but criticized Donald Trump, held him responsible for the violence, and said that he would support a censure motion against Donald Trump. The leader in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, has said he would look at impeachment with an open mind. So there is churning going on, and one can't rule out that if the impeachment trial in the Senate takes place after President Trump hands over power, many more Republicans may be emboldened to come forward and support his impeachment. So we have to see how that is playing out.
So you're saying that more than 17, you're saying that more than 17 of the required Republicans to cross over for a guilty verdict for the US president or for Donald Trump in this trial can actually cross over?
We don't know. The numbers are not clear. But more would certainly be forthcoming than would be willing to do so while he was president, because they're scared of him. And many have commented privately, according to reports that have come out, that even today they're scared of voting against him because they fear for their lives. And the Trump supporter, and you saw what happened on Capitol Hill on January 6th.
Yeah.
And so many that some Trump supporters may take action against them. So there is this atmosphere, and we have to see what happens after January 20, after he hands over power. And if the Republican congressmen, senators start assessing things differently, one can't rule that out.
Tell me something, sir, also for the benefit of our viewers. 2024, I mean, do you think, so if Trump is held guilty by this, by the Senate, then he will be automatically disqualified from contesting 2024?
No, not at all. As Pramit indicated, that after he's held guilty, if he's also indicted by the Senate, after that there have to be follow-up votes to prevent him for holding or running for office again. But those votes only require a simple majority. And so that would require subsequent action. But again, many have suggested that if the US Congress goes down that path, Trump may even go to courts. They may require a final decision from the US Supreme Court.
What do you see now up ahead for Donald Trump?
Well, he now faces multiple challenges. Let's assume he gets through the impeachment without any major problems. The Senate eventually decides not to support or hold the trial, agree to vote for a trial. He still then faces one thing. One, as you've mentioned, he loves to be in the limelight. He builds a lot of his personal support is driven by his ability to communicate directly. He's been banned from Twitter, and a whole bunch of other social media platforms have been either stopped using him or refusing to take his messages. He's now probably will move to alternative social platforms, but ones which are less known or which cater to a much smaller group. So that will be one of his problems.